So I think the beginning part, I missed some part. So anyway, first when we start, we settle the body and mind. We need to be calm. We need to be, our mind should be free from exciting or from how to say, from thinking, or from thinking, or how to say, if we have so much worry, and if our mind is very distractive, then at that time we cannot focus, we cannot pay attention, we cannot concentrate. So therefore, first we should try to have a calm mind, and we should have a mind that is ready to practice, that is ready to concentrate, and that is ready to pay attention. If we are tired, if physically, if we are exhausted, and then mentally, if we are exhausted, then at that time, it is not the right time to practice the Dharma, because with exhausted body and mind, we cannot do proper practice, we cannot visualize properly. So first we should have a well-prepared body and mind, and settle the body and mind. And we should have calmness. We as a beginner, when we hear some exciting news, then our mind becomes very excited, or mind becomes very restless, or very it becomes more wild, so more difficult to control, more difficult to focus on the object, or on the meditation, or on the practice. So therefore, in short, first we should have a well-prepared body and mind, or we should settle the body and mind, and then first we visualize the pure ground and the refuge tree, and then we should focus on the common preliminary teachings, the shortcomings of the samsara, then the difficulty of obtaining precious human life, then the impermanence and death, and then the law of karma. And then also, after that, we should practice or visualize or meditate on the loving kindness and compassion to all the sentient beings, and then develop the bodhicitta, wishing and engaging bodhicitta. So with this in mind, then we should start the practice. First, we should reflect on the cause of. First, I think we should reflect on the one who goes for refuge, which means all the sentient beings in the form of precious human life. Second, we should reflect on the cause of refuge, and third, the purpose of taking refuge, and fourth, duration of taking refuge, and fifth, the object of taking refuge. Actually, object. Anyway, we can say like this. But these five, the order of these five can be varied, I think. So anyway, we should focus on these 5 points after generating the right motivation, and then we recite the prayers with the visualization or with the understanding of the meaning, and then when we do the 4 lines of refuge prayer, we should focus on each of these 4. Like when we take refuge in the Guru, we focus on root and lineage gurus in the form of Vajradhara. Then when we take refuge in the Sangha and in the Buddha, we focus on deities in the Buddha's form. And when we take refuge in Dhamma, we focus on pile of Dhamma books. When we take refuge in the Sangha, we focus on the noble bodhisattvas. So with such thinking or with such understanding, then we take refuge. When we recite the 4 lines of refuge as much as we can. And then at the end, we do the supplication. And at that time, first we do the supplication, and then due to this, we should understand that now all these object of refuge dissolve into light and absorb oneself. Then finally merge together with our own mind, and then the nature of the mind is free from all the extremes. Then on such state of mind or such ultimate state of the mind, we just meditate for a while, and that part of the meditation is called the ultimate refuge. So this is the way we need to do the refuge prayer. And then after that, we need to... So right after this supplication prayer, we should not just recite the bodhicitta prayer. After the supplication prayer, then we pause and then visualize the dissolution part and also meditate on the ultimate refuge. And then we also need to reflect on the great compassion, again, this time as the cause of bodhicitta. And then try to understand the meaning of wishing and engaging bodhicitta, and then recite the bodhicitta prayer. So now we first reflect on the great compassion, which is the main cause of bodhicitta, and then we should reflect on wishing and engaging bodhicitta, and then recite the bodhicitta prayer. Now we recite the bodhicitta prayer. The first line is wishing bodhicitta, and the second line is the engaging bodhicitta. So we do this 2 lines of bodhicitta prayer 3 times. Samjan tamje ge tando zobe sangye ge koban tobara cha de chedo dage lamsam nyamso lang orange wa samjan tamje ge tando sangye ge koban tobara cha de chedo dage lamsam nyamso lang orange wa samjan tamje ge tando sangye ge koban tobara cha de chedo dage lamsam nyamso lang orange wa. So after this, then we can also meditate on the ultimate bodhicitta, thinking of the ultimate nature of the mind, which is free from all the extremes, which is free from all the fabrications, on such state, which is a state that is beyond thoughts and beyond words. So on such state, we just meditate for a while, and I think that is known as the ultimate bodhicitta. So we do this. So this one has no recitation, just meditation. Actually, normally when we recite the bodhicitta prayer, we say Semjan Tamchegi Tendo Dzogbe Sangegi. Dzogbe, the word Dzogbe is not here. I think we can also add. Normally we have this word. Dzogbe Sangye means complete Buddha. Buddha Sangye means just a Buddha. Dzogbe Sangye means complete Buddha, which only refers to the Mahayana Buddha, not Sharavaka or Patyeka Buddha. Normally we have this word in our sadhanas or in our rituals. I think maybe it's better to add this word. So Semjan Tamchige Tendo Dzogbe Sangye Yukoban Tobarcha. So if we focus on refuge prayer, if our main practice is the refuge prayer, then after refuge we can just do the bodhicitta part, which is very short, and then after that, without doing the Vajrasattva or Mandala or Guru Yoga practice, we can just do the prayer and do the dedication. So actually here on the page 14, there's also two versions. One is not metered and one is the metered version. So if we are doing the one that is not metered, then we do all the same. Refuge prayer, supplication, and the bodhicitta, all not in the metered version. If we are doing the metered version, then we can do all these in metered version. So we can choose. So in the bodhicitta part, the middle version is on the third line. First and second line is the one that is not metered. So anyway, after the bodhicitta prayer, if we just want to conclude the session without doing the other practice, then we can just do the prayer, which is on the fourth line or the page 14. This prayer, and then dedicate. From the fourth line up to the sixth line of the page 14, we can do this part and then do the dedication. And we would need to do the proper dedication. So, is there any questions on the refuge and bodhicitta? No? Nothing written.
I'm just wondering, as a pedestrian, which part should we do? The Chinese version said that we should do the pedestrian. If you didn't do in the refugee part, you should do here.
No, I think this is in Tibetan also. Cha means prostration, right? I think this is just a prayer. it doesn't mean we need to do the prostration here in this at this time. Actually, in our tradition, when we recite the refuge prayer, we can do the prostration, or we can do the refuge prayer without the prostration. So prostration is not a must to do during the preliminary practice in our tradition. But if you can, then it becomes much better. But this one is just a prayer. So you are saying this part, right? This is just a prayer. And there's one written question, which is on mandala part, mandala practice. It says, when do 7 heap Sakya Pentita or Atisha mandala offering, do we need to place saffron water on the plate and draw the rectangle and circle each time? Actually, when we do the 37 heap, then of course we can do, and then when we do the 7 heap, the long one, the longer version of the 7 heap mandala, then at that time also we can do all this. But the Sakya Pandita's mandala prayer is quite short. If you can, then we can also do very fast, and then make the heaps. And then after reciting the mandala, then again we dismantle it and then do it again. But for Adisha's mandala offering, which only has 4 lines, for that to dismantle it and to put the heaps again, I think there's not much time to do it because it only has 4 lines of prayer, of recitation. So practically, when we do the longer ones, or maybe even the Sakya one maybe can do this, do the heaps, and then doing the if we are accumulating the Adisha ones, Adisha mental offering, then just add on the heaps. Actually, in this Adisha's 4-line mandala prayer also has the 7 heap. Like the first line shows the ground, and the second line shows. Actually, the second line, only in the second line, it has all the 7 heaps, because we say rirab means the first heap, lingshi means the 4 continents, which is the 2nd to 5th heap, and Nginda means the 6th and 7th. So all 7 heaps are mentioned only in the second line, rirab lingshi Nginda Gyambade. So we can just add on these 7 heaps and then offer. And as I said before, I think after 1 mala or after 10 times, then one can do 1 longer one. Or after 1 mala, then one can, like 110 short one and then 111th one, the longer one. Then start again from 1 to 110, and then again the longer one. So if there's any questions for tomorrow, then please write it down and give it to the office, and then I will try to answer it tomorrow. And also, even we practice the Vajrasattva, then at that time also it is not necessary to practice all the remaining practice like mandala and Guru Yoga. But I think refuge and bodhicitta is must for all the practices, because it's short. So we should do refuge and bodhicitta to all the practices, even if we do only Vajrasattva or like that. And maybe it's better when we do more and more, like when we do Vajrasattva, then refuge, bodhicitta and Vajrasattva. And when we do mandala, then refuge, bodhicitta, Vajrasattva and mandala. Or you can skip the Vajrasattva. And then when we do the Guru Yoga, then the refuge, bodhicitta, and Guru Yoga, or refuge, bodhicitta, and then Vajrasattva, mandala, and Guru Yoga. So it's up to individuals to decide. And also, the practice, the main point, the main purpose of practice is to make an impact on our mind, to have an effect on our mind, to cultivate our positive mind, and to reduce and eliminate our negative mind. So, therefore, even it is not in the actual preliminary prayer, but it is important to add it's important to accumulate or it is important to count the loving kindness and compassion prayer. So we can add that before the bodhicitta. So after the refuge practice, then we can add. Sometimes, actually, the refuge, the loving kindness and compassion prayers, normally it's after the bodhicitta, but there's no, there's no fault in bringing the loving kindness and compassion before the bodhicitta. So we can do either way, but according to the sequence of developing or generating these in our thoughts, then I think before the bodhicitta we should do loving kindness and compassion, because we say the cause of bodhicitta is great compassion. Because of that, then Chandrakirti pays homage to compassion, the great compassion. And the cause of great compassion, or the root of great compassion, is loving kindness. So therefore, based on this, then first we can, after the refuge, we can do the loving kindness and compassion. We can count, and then we can practice. We can count the bodhicitta practice. So after refuge, then I think we should do the 4 lines of limitless prayer. But when we count the loving kindness, then we should, after the refuge, then we should count the loving kindness prayer. May all beings gain happiness and cause of happiness, something like that, right? And that one we should count as much as possible in a session. Then at the end of the session, then we just recite the next 3 lines of limitless prayer only one time, and then followed by reflecting on the great compassion again as a cause of bodhicitta, and then reflect on wishing and engaging bodhicitta, and then recite the bodhicitta prayer. And then if you want to conclude the session just by doing this, then we can conclude we can do the prayer to cast out negative deeds, and then do the dedication, and then just conclude the session. And when we are focusing on loving, on the great compassion, then we recite the refuge prayer. We do the refuge practice, and then we recite the loving kindness prayer only one time. Then we count the compassion, the second line of the 4 limitless, that one as much as possible. Normally, we don't say may all beings through each of these 4 lines. We just say may all beings in the first line. Then second, third, and fourth line, we don't have this word. But to have more impact on our mind, we can add may all beings be free from suffering and cause of suffering. And then so in such a way we recite the compassion prayer. So every time we recite the compassion prayer, when we count, we say May all beings be free from suffering and cause of suffering, like that. So we recite in such way we recite in such way as many as possible, and then to conclude, then we can recite the last 2 lines of the 4 limitless prayers only 1 time each, and then bodhicitta, and then do the prayers and dedication. And then actually we need to focus on practice. We need to focus on preliminary practice, but also we need to be we need to be more vigilant. What was that we are using during the post-meditative session? During the post-session, what we are doing, how we are behaving, what kind of thoughts that we are talking, what kind of thoughts that are rising in our mind. So we need to check all these. If we do the practice properly with great diligence, according to the Dharma teaching, but during the post-session, if our action becomes wild, if our action becomes something that is very negative, that is against the Dharma or against the teachings, then it is not easy to accumulate merit, or it is not easy to progress. At one time we are pushing up, but at one time we are pulling down by ourselves. Then pushing up and pulling down, if these two alternates all the time, then there's no real progress. There will be no real progress on the path. There will be no real improvement in our mind. On our mind or in our mind? In our mind. There's no real improvement in our mind. That part we should be careful, and especially it is very important to control our mind. Actually, it is more difficult to control our mind, because whatever we think in our mind is something that is not visible to others. So therefore, even we show a smiling face, inside we might have headed some kind of negative thoughts towards that person, but still that person will not know, because our mental thoughts are invisible. So it is more difficult to control. But physical and verbal actions, it's more easier to control, because if you do these things, then people will know. There's more chance for others to know what we are doing. But our mental action is more difficult to control, because they will not know. And we don't feel shy to have these negative thoughts in our mind, because it's invisible to others. So we should put more effort. We should focus more on our mental action. And if we really can control the negative thoughts, then that itself is a great achievement. Overall, or after all, the purpose of all our practice, the purpose of all our virtuous deeds is to tame our mind, is to subdue our wild mind. That's the main purpose of all our practice, all our studies and practice. So we should keep these in our mind, and try to become a better person, and try to control our negative thoughts all the time with our own mindfulness and alertness. So with this, we will conclude today's session. And now at the end, we should do the dedication. Oh, okay. This afternoon, Christian Bernard will explain about the Ngondro practice program, which will last for almost 4 years, from this year until 2023, because until 2023 there's no real practice teaching, because in the next 3 years we are going to study the general explanation of the Tantra and the realization of the Tantra, realization from the Tantra, realization through the practice of Tantra, and also the general, also the root Tantra of the Vajra. So there's a Ngondro practice program that one need to do by oneself, individually, and Christian Banan has a kind of program that will last until 2023. So this is just an idea to have idea on how to practice these Ngondro practices until 2023. So Christian will explain in the afternoon.